friends, what we're going to talk about today is high-flow pumps. This can be found in hot tubs. This can be actually found in above ground pools a lot of times. The one that we're going to put a seal in a moment is actually on an above ground pool. One of the ways that you can tell, this is the old style, and this has, you can see it's got cut corners. This is the new style version of it. This one replaces this one. The parts for this one are available. You can't buy the Volu or the face anymore, but you can buy the impeller, the seal, and stuff to go inside of it if the body of it, this part of it, is good. This, you can buy complete units now that look like this. It's still called Hi-Flo. You can buy impeller seals, all that kind of stuff for this as well. These are generally going to be 48 frame in variety. And another way you can tell if it's the newer style, it's actually threaded right inside here. The old style, you can see this particular one is not. I think it comes both ways. They thread them like this because you can screw a fitting inside of it, like an 1.5 inch fitting, a lot of times in a pool application instead of the so this is 1.5 inch inside thread. It's actually what we call 2 inch on the outside, these two, but they measure 3 inches across if you measure from the edge to the edge. So we're going to put a seal in it, and another way that you can tell is you see how thin it is. If it's got this thread here and it's thin like this as opposed to a regular Waterway wet end, and I'll show you an example. So this one is a Hi-Flo, this one is an executive. You can see that the shape of them is very similar as far as the shape of the face and that kind of stuff, but they're very, very different. This one is much, much larger. You can see that it's quite a bit larger, plus it's not threaded on the inside, although the fitting is the same. That's a 2 inch fitting which measures 3 inches across. So what we're working on today is Hi-Flo right here. Stay tuned, friends. Alright, so you can see that it says Waterway on it. This particular one says that it is a 2 horsepower, and it in fact is. It says 115 volt here, 16 amps high speed. 16 amps is 2 horsepower at 115 volts. 12 amps would be 1 horsepower. So if it's 14, it'd be 1.5. If it was 8, or if it was 10, that would be a 3/4 horsepower. If it was 8 amps, it would be a 1/2 horsepower. That just gives you an idea. If this was 230 volts at 16 amps, this would be a true 5 horse. But you're not going to find this Hi-Flo in that variety. You notice this has a wall plug on it, 115 volt plug. This is used for above ground pool pumps. And if you look on this side, it actually says above ground pool pump on it, Millennium. But that's not going to be how it is out in the real world. It's normally going to say Hi-Flo on it on that sticker. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the face off, and we're going to change the seal out. The shaft actually looks pretty good. You can see it's pretty clean. So I think I'm going to easily be able to turn the impeller out of this thing, or even grab it right here with a pair of pliers and turn the impeller off, change the seal, and put it right back together. The other thing this particular one has is it has a high speed and a low speed switch on it. That's not the way it is in the hot tub world, but that's the way it is in the above ground pool world. So there it is, friends. Stay tuned. We're going to open this thing up. Somebody's messed the screws up on this. They must have had a terrible screwdriver. A terrible Phillips, because they have gnarled these screws. Flat screwdriver right behind the edge, and just kind of use this as a fulcrum point. And if you notice, this does not have a wear ring on it. The wear ring is actually here. It's made into the face, and you can see where it's actually touched and rubbed. So this thing is actually damaged. Look at that thing. See how it wobbles? So with this shaft wobbling like that, I don't know if there's something wrong with the impeller, if somebody tried to mess with it, but you can see that thing is pretty damaged. I don't know if the shaft is the issue or not. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to take the back off right here. And this has got that extra switch in it, which is going to make it a little bit harder to deal with. Not a lot, but the switch is inside the cover, so the cover won't just come off. You can see where they have mowed the grass around this bad boy. So I'm going to try to hold it And actually this has a wrench fitting on it, which is very nice. So I'm going to see if I can hold it with this. If not, we'll go to the wrench fitting. I'm going to turn it around where you can see. Alright, so I've got a wrench on the back of it now holding it. You can see the head of it. There we go. And see, once it breaks loose, it'll come on out, but you can see how wobbly that is. I wonder if the shaft is actually damaged on the pump, if it's the thread. So there is the impeller, and he said that it's leaking at the seal, but I think it may be leaking. This seal looks new, like it's been replaced recently. So I think we've got something else up here. So I'm going to take this off where we can watch the thing run. Stay tuned. Friends, I've got it back on there, and you can see that it is wobbling. So I'm going to turn it off, put a brand new one on, and let's see if it's the shaft or if it's the impeller. I can't imagine how the impeller could get damaged, but it is possible, I would assume. And you can see that thing is turning very straight. So there's in fact something wrong with the impeller. So we're going to change out the seal, put a brand new seal, and of course a brand new impeller on it, put it back together, and see what happens. Stay tuned. So I'm going to clean this shaft up. You can see that it's wet. And the shaft actually doesn't look too bad. That thing was definitely leaking, but they caught this in enough time. You can see how clean that shaft is. That's not bad at all. That's actually very, very clean. Looks very nice. So we're going to go with that. And I'm going to get prepared, and what we're going to do is knock this seal out, put the new seal in, put the new seal on the impeller, put it all back together, and we're going to get it happening. Stay tuned, friends. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is knock this seal out of the volute. The volute is the back part. This seal is opposite of most seals. The spring part is actually in the volute, where most of the spring part is on the impeller. This one is actually backwards, so simply flip it over, take you a flat screwdriver or a punch or anything. It doesn't take much effort, and just tap it right out of there. And you can see that that is what it looks like with it out. That's the back of it. So all we're going to do is just make sure that this is nice and clean. Let's get the gunk out of it. See that? So then we'll take the silicone in the kit and just put a little bit. It doesn't take a whole lot. We don't want a whole lot. This is going to do two things. It's silicone based, so it's going to make it slick, make it slide down in there faster and easier. But it's also going to seal it and keep it from turning. There's the seal tool. The seal tool fits on the outside of the seal, and you simply just push it right down in there. Just put a little bit of pressure on it to make sure it's even, and voila, that seal is in there correctly. You can see what it looks like on the back. You see up in there. And if you want a little bit of extra insurance, you can just take a little hammer and just tap around the edge, make sure it's all in there. So that is in there good. So now we're going to put this part of the seal on the impeller. So thus far I do not include a 1/2 inch coupler in the kit that could be used for this, but you can do it with your fingers as well. You can just simply just push it down in there like that, but you can also, if you happen to have a 1/2 inch coupler, it does fit on there. And one of these days I may add that to the kit. But the main thing you want to do is you want to make sure when you look at it that it's even with the impeller, and you can see that it's sticking up on this side just a little bit, so that is not even. You see that? So what I'm going to do is take and put a little pressure on that side to even it up. That looks even right there. You see how smooth it is all the way around? That is correct. So now we've got all that stuff done. I'm going to get prepared and we're going to put it all back together. Alright, so let's put it back together. We've got the seal in here, the ceramic part. We've got the spring part in the Volu. This is a Waterway. We've got this. This particular one does not use a wear ring. Some of them have a wear ring right here, and you can actually see, remember this one was wobbling, so it actually touched inside of here. The wear ring is inside. Now this is the new style. So what you're going to do is find that little part right there. See, it's got a little edge to it, and you line it up with that part. And this thing, you can tell, is outside. This is actually a swimming pool pump. But it's the same thing as a hot tub pump as far as the way it goes together. This was actually used on an above ground pool. So we're just going to push this back together, stick the screws in it. And I'd be willing to bet you that the way this thing got warped up was this thing was run for a period of time without water in it, in all likelihood. These things take a beating on these above ground pools. The screws are not great on this, but what I'll generally do is a cross pattern. Meaning I do this one, that one, that one, this one, this one, this one. And then this one. And then this one. The way that one sounded. There we go. So just double check it. Doesn't take much. And if you don't feel good about doing it with the impact or a drill, that's okay. Do it with your fingers. So now we're going to take the pump and we're going to do this, and I'm going to thread. I'm going to hold the impeller with my hand, with my fingers, and I'm turning the shaft and threading the impeller up on the shaft. Just like that right there. I felt it bottom out. Now take your impeller and put it in place. Just like that right there. Put the through bolts, get them started. And I don't tighten them all up until I get them all in. Get them all going. When you get them all started, then you can tighten them. And it's the same thing. You don't want to over tighten this. You want it to be just right. Socket came off. Okay, every one of them are nice and tight. Do a cross pattern. Alright, so now this one, as I mentioned before, because it's a pool, it has a switch on the bottom right here. You can see it's got that little switch. So I'm putting the switch in the middle. We're just going to slip this back on. Put the screw back in, and she, friends, is ready to go. She is ready to go. So friends, the reason I make these videos is so you buy parts from me. I'm not making them because I just want to teach you about how to fix your pump. Of course, we appreciate you watching. I enjoy having people and watching. I enjoy feedback, so feel free to say things and interact. Just try to be positive, not negative. Sometimes there's a lot of negativity out there in the world, and none of us have time for that, especially if you're doing stuff like this and you got people that want to critique what you're doing. You know, I don't see the point in that unless it's positive. And so anyway, remember that we just changed this. If you need impellers, you need seals, we have them in the store. If you have the old style, the face is no longer available, Volu's no longer available, but you can get the seal for this. The impeller is the same impeller, same seal as it is on this. So if you crack the face or something, you got to buy a whole wet end. If you just need internal parts, you can get them for either one. If you'll click this little spot right here, it will take you to our website to where the Hi-Flo stuff is. And don't forget to subscribe. I think the subscription will be right here. It'll be my face and it'll say Spa Guy. Click that and subscribe so you can get all of our videos, all of my videos. And I don't know much, friends, but I do know hot tubs. Bye today. I'm the Spa Guy.